Hello children, today we are going to read a poem, A Sad Child, written by Margaret Eleanor Atwood. Margaret Eleanor Atwood was born on November 18, 1939 in Ottawa, Ontario. Her parents were of Nova Scotian descent. She was the daughter of a forest entomologist. Entomologist is a branch of zoology that deals with insects. She received her bachelor's degree from Victoria College, Toronto in 1961. Her mentor, Northrop Frye, recommended her to pursue a graduate degree at Radcliffe College. Her experiences helped her feminist views in opposition to the Americanization of Canadian culture. Margaret is a Canadian poet, novelist, literary critic. She has published 17 books of poetry, 16 novels, 10 books of non-fiction, 8 collections of short fiction, 8 children books, and 1 graphic novel, as well as a number of small press editions in poetry and fiction. She received the Governor-General's Literary Award for Poetry. She is regarded as a productive poet, novelist, feminist, and activist. She is a winner of the Booker Prize and Arthur C. Clarke Award. She was a finalist for the Governor-General's Award. Coming to the poem, A Sad Child. Children, I am going to read out a poem for you. You are sad because you are sad. It's psychic, it's the age. It's chemical, go see a shrink or take a pill. Or hug your sadness like an eyeless doll, you need to sleep. Well, all children are sad, but some get over it. Count your blessings, better than that. Buy a hat, buy a coat or pet. Take up dancing to forget. Forget what? Your sadness, your shadow, whatever it was that was done to you. The day of the lawn party, when you came inside flushed with the sun. Your mouth sulky with sugar, in your new dress with the ribbon, and the ice cream smear, and said to yourself in the bathroom, I'm not the favorite child. My darling, when it comes right down to it, and the light fails, and the fog rolls in you, and you are trapped in your overturned body under a blanket or burning car, and the red flame is seeping out of you, and igniting the tarmac beside your head, or else the floor, or else the pillow. None of us is, or else we all are. Children, the summary of the poem goes like this. A sad child. This poem is highly filled with emotions. The poem revolves around a story of a child. This child is sad, and what is the reason behind sadness is explained in this poem. It seems as though those who understand their own personal sadness intimately are always looking to express them in ways that are often artistic and well-known. When a poet writes a meaningful song that expresses their sorrow, in intricate, deep, powerful ways, they often wind up writing poems that rank among their most popular. In this poem I had A Sad Child, Atwood says, you are sad because you are sad. In the line 1, which suggests presence of the theme of depression, and in second line Atwood claims the depression being a factor of age. It's the age, it's chemical, which gives an idea of the theme of growth present in the poem. Atwood uses simile to compare between hugging sadness and hugging a toy. Hug your sadness like an eyeless doll, which means to face or consider sadness as a fact and cope with it rather than avoiding it. Childhood memories have great impact on a mature personality. These memories can affect the present as well as future of a person. A sad child exactly explains how these memories can affect child. A child is shown sad in this poem, but the reason behind his sadness lets everyone to think on. This poem says that the depression is a perceptive ego, which may be a darkness. The descriptions of terrible memories that origins despair that comes into clash with thoughts of self-esteem. Atwood uses imagery as a poetic device in Your New Dress with the Ribbon and the Ice Cream Smear, allowing the readers to visualize that teenage got her dress dirty with ice cream and can also imagine her sad face. Simple diction, simile, and the imagery really helps in understanding how bad the teenager would have felt from visualizing her sad face with dirty dress, feeling of shame, and also analyzing how it could have been prevented by considering it as a fact that will be with you for the rest of your life. Now the stanza paraphrasing goes like this. You are sad because you are sad. It's psychic, it's the age, it's chemical. These lines deal with the sorrow as something that simply is, but not in a morose or a fatalistic way. They describe it as something to be accepted and dealt with because the poem is entitled A Sad Child. It makes sense to think of the narrator as talking with the child. But it's the age, it's something that could as easily refer to instances of depression among senior citizens or as it could to young children. The advice given is just as abrupt. Atwood's use of short sentences gives the narrator a blunt personality as they express meaningful revelations of character and pieces of advice through short, simple sentences. You Need to Sleep also follows this idea, though the idea of hugging one's sadness is a more personal and metaphorical image. In stanza 2, The line says, one of the principal themes expressed in this verse is the idea that sitting around and contemplating sadness isn't something that makes sadness go away. The narrator points out that this isn't a curse or an affliction, but rather a normal aspect of growing up. Their two pieces of advice are to look at the positive things in life, or to do something to take the child's mind off their sadness. Go shopping, care for a pet, or start a new hobby such as dance. Around here, it becomes apparent that a sad child is not written with any particular regard to rhyming or a structure. Though in this verse, there is an element of rhyme better than that. Buy a hat and buy a coat or a pet. Take up dancing to forget. The flow of the poem does come off as a verbal instructions and comforting, as a natural verbal expression almost more than a poem itself. In stanza 3, these lines says, the narrator knows the source of the child's pain, and it's familiar one. The description of the day, the child comes to the realization, whether real or imagined, that they are not as loved as they want to be, is poetic and with recanting experiences that many can relate to in some capacity. The day of the lawn party, a family gathering, a birthday celebration, a long day, then the child takes a break from it all. Goes to the bathroom to look in the mirror and think and realize and be sad. The narrator describes this as the shadow, as something that follows them around, but can't find the singular source, saying instead whatever it was that was done to you. This is often the case with bouts of sadness. There doesn't have to be a single sudden cause, nor an event to create a sudden world of depression. Sometimes it just happens that this child is standing alone, feeling unloved and a little more alone in the world. In stanza 4, the final two verses of the poem take its reader a step back. The narrator affectionately addresses the child and then delivers a heavy message. Being trapped in an overturned body under a blanket or burning car brings forth the image of a car accident. When red is seeping out of the body, a person is bleeding. And in this, the narrator conjures up a very vivid image of the moment before death. And in that moment, they say all are equal. None of us is, or else we all are. It's like the well-known pitch you often hear told to children, and it's unspoken after bit. Everybody is special, which is another way of saying that nobody is. And with that knowledge, the narrator is urging the child to go out, lead their life, to live it and forget about sadness, because one way or another, they only have the one life. And in that moment before death, it isn't going to matter whether or anyone else thought that you were the favorite child. What will matter will be a lot of other things for you. So, the theme of this poem is, she explores the theme of overcoming sadness or grief and recovering from sadness through several social agents like a therapist or an activity. People should learn how to move on from the period of grief, because at one point of time, everybody goes through it. Time heals everything, no matter what has happened. It may leave a mark on your heart, but the grief you feel will diminish. Another dominant theme of this poem is puberty and childhood sadness. She explains that it's psychic, it's age, it's chemical. She addresses the poem to children and teenagers of the world. The phase they go through is significant in developing their character and identity. In this age, all children experience such sadness, and Atwood suggests ways to cope and forget this sadness. The analysis of the poem is, there's a very little to say about the poem historically, but it almost transcends time. The themes that are so well expressed in A Sad Child are easily relatable and understood throughout ages and generations. As the narrator so bluntly puts it, all children are sad. As an analysis on sorrow, it takes a very different direction to many of the other poems that have been written about the topic. At times, it almost feels too harsh, but at others, it is astonishingly open, conceiving of the greater picture that both drives sadness and explains why it should be shared. It sets itself apart and yet somehow feels entirely natural, as good advice that shouldn't be taken for granted. Time heals everything, no matter what has happened. It may leave a mark on your heart, but the grief you will feel will diminish. Another dominant theme of this poem is puberty and childhood sadness. The poetic devices in the poem used are simile, imagery, personification. Simile, and the example of simile in the poem is, hug your sadness like an eyeless doll. Imagery is the thought put like your mouth sulky with sugar in your dress with the ribbon and ice cream smear. That it is the visualization of the thought. Personification is personifying the things, like example is, the light fails and the fog rolls in, is personification in the poem. Thank you.